Life as You Own It with Mark McDougald and Craig Miller.
Remember, you got questions, we've got answers. You may not take the time to educate yourself about the single largest investment and opportunity you have, that investment in the roof over your head in real estate.
We talk about your home, financing, making investments in real estate. We give you the facts, folks.
You know, it's just good old-fashioned horse sense that we like to talk about. And we also throw in some other horse stuff, too, just for fun.
All right, here we are, Craig.
We are here, Mark.
We are here. We are young, or as my 4-year-old would say, we are ya.
We are ya.
We are ya. All right, this is Life as You Own It. I'm Mark McDougald. He's Craig Miller. Hope you're having a fantastic weekend. Thanks for joining us. We hope that for the next hour you are engaged, enthralled, and at the end of the day, edumacated.
That's right. Perhaps.
Or educated.
Slightly.
Or educated.
Something.
One of those three.
Or you can just go to the library.
Yeah, go to the library and do some reading and some writing. All right, folks, well, if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. We appreciate you checking out Life as You Own It, and we hope that you make us your habit, your weekly habit. And you know what? You don't only have to tune in on the radio. If you're checking it out, you can go to iTunes, you can go to iHeartRadio, or you can go to TuneIn Radio and catch us there. If you go to lifeasyouownit.com, you can play previously recorded episodes, and go to YouTube, because you can look, you can see the action that's going on. I'm waving to the camera. Hi, Mom.
Good times.
All right, so we appreciate you checking us out. You're in for, we hope, a treat. We're going to cover everything under the roof. We might, in a typical show, it might be how to get your best deal on home insurance, auto insurance, how to improve your credit score, how to make the decision as to whether you should rent or you should own. And if you choose to own, how to get your best deal on a mortgage. I'm here with the expert, the man, the legendary Craig Miller, who not only covers all these things with me, but day in and day out, he rolls up his sleeves and gives people fantastic advice on how to look at their investment in real estate as an opportunity to work on a financial plan. Get the best deal on your mortgage, listen to the show, and check out the website. And if you don't laugh during this show at least once, then we guarantee we will refund all of your money.
All the money.
100% money back guarantee. All right.
If you don't laugh within the first 6 minutes, we give you the 7th minute free.
That's right. And remember, if you want to call us, please, we want to hear from you. 877-300-1536. 877-300-1536. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You've got a question. You need some advice. You need anything. We've got people standing by, and you know what? They can they may be able to answer the questions themselves, or they can direct it to Craig, myself, any one of our friendly team members. Say, hey, you know what? I want to talk to Craig. He's on 24-hour standby.
Like a little
pager. Wake up and go,
I'm trying to sleep, and it's like, that's not the sound my pager makes. Anyway, it's like, Dr. Miller, and it just like wakes me up.
Dr. Miller.
And I get on it.
Right.
Hey, this is the facts, folks. I don't care if you live in Alaska, Puerto Rico, Florida, New York, wherever, anywhere.
Any of those foreign locations.
Anywhere. Washington, D.C., which is definitely a foreign location. You can call if you have a question about your mortgage, if you're trying to refinance a home, if you're trying to purchase a home, you're doing remodeling work, you're doing anything that involves borrowing money, and you want to make sure that you are not getting the shaft. You want to make sure you're getting a fair deal, saving the most money, but most importantly, the right advice. Go ahead and call the 877-300-1536 number and say, I want to talk to Craig about this transaction before I pull the trigger because I want to make sure I'm doing it right. Let us do that for you. Don't pass on this opportunity. Let us consult you so that you're not making a foolish decision with your finances.
Did you have a good week?
I did have a good week. It was
Good.
a busy week.
Good.
There's a lot going on, Mark.
It's a good thing. We could be busy or we could be dead.
That's
I
true.
prefer to be busy. All right, folks, so today's show, we've got first-time home buyers aren't pulling their weight in the housing recovery. Why is that, Craig?
They're just not
Come
training.
on, first-
They're not training.
We'll share 4 reasons the millennials are hampering the recovery. Shame on you, millennials. Also, of course, those listening to the show and thinking they want to be a part of the solution, not the problem, we'll let you know what you need to do 3, 6, and 12 months out so your first home purchase is a success. And why does it matter if your real estate agent uses proper grammar? You're looking at me waiting for the punchline, aren't you, Rosa? There.
We're gonna give you
If you're selling a high-end home, trust us, it does, and we've got the data to prove it. And Craig, did you know that half of all home sales are all cash deals?
I was going to want to talk about that today, Mark. I'm so glad you brought that up. It blows me away.
You complete me. We'll tell you why that is. No, it's not because every other person on the street has a rich uncle. What'd you say?
I said you can't. You talked about the show
I
form,
said
becoming a habit
Yeah.
for our listeners.
I
and
can't.
know
But you're
you
right. You could. Yeah,
Mark just can't quit me.
I can't. Remember the opportunity in Detroit to buy a house from the city for $1,000 we talked about a couple weeks ago? Remember that,
Yep,
Craig?
we did.
The first one sold last week. We'll let you know if you should consider jumping in on the action and being an investor in real estate. So we've got the
Lowtown
sales
real
price.
estate.
We'll give you the goods on it. All right, Craig. Anything else you want to cover today?
We don't want to forget to talk about the old FIRST program. We'll talk
Yeah,
about
first. Yeah, that's right.
We got to get it announced.
FIRST, first. That's and we'll talk about Friends Inspiring Real Service today. Rosa helps lead up the cause there, and if you want to participate in a great cause, we're collecting care kits. We're putting together care kits for Heart to Heart International, and we've got a list of things that you can donate. We'd love it. Hey, dentists out there, you know you get the free toothpaste and toothbrushes. You could help us out. Hook us up. If you go to lifeasyouownit.com, we'll have the information and the items needed. Combs, toothbrushes, shampoo, items like washcloths, hand towels, etc. It goes, and look up Heart to Heart International. It's a great organization, and they're doing great work, and we're trying to help them out with Life as You Own It.
Tell them what the care kits are for.
And I don't know what Rosa just said. She's going to have to speak up a little
Speak
louder.
up, Rosa.
What was that?
Tell them what the care kits are for.
Okay, the care
For
kits
disaster
are
relief.
for people who need care. I don't know.
They're for people who need
They're for disaster relief.
Yeah,
they're
the
disaster
disaster relief
victims.
care kits,
So when they're
exactly.
stranded
Okay.
and they don't have their
I
hygiene
maybe I
products
assumed
and-
they knew that, but that's good.
Well,
I'll
just
let
so
them
that they know what it's going for.
know. I thought maybe it was a
Yeah, they could have
specific.
been going to the military, which will be
Right.
So they've helped out like Hurricane Sandy victims. Anytime
Good
there's tsunamis or natural disasters.
Sue who?
Nami.
Tsunami.
Oh,
She's
yeah. I think that's kind of racist. You're talking
Yeah.
about our Vietnam friends that way, or Vietnamese friends.
We call them Namis. Did I hit this?
You can zip it right there. Stop at the hand towels, etc. And then
because we got
Craig can
too many
go-
things going on at the same time. We got Should You Stay or Should You Go playing, and that's playing, and we're talking.
Yep.
And I
Yeah.
just got really confused. I feel like I was at the doctor, and I don't want to tell you what kind of doctor.
so stop back up before I start saying.
Proctology.
Back up farther.
I thought you just-
Colonoscopy.
Back up farther. 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 There. Bop. All right. Go to lifeisunit.com.
Let's start it right there.
So where are we starting?
Go to lifeisyouownit.com.
All right.
Hang on.
So he needs to say that. Go to
Yeah.
And
lifeisunit.com.
then Craig, you can say what Heart to Heart International does. You want to? You prepared?
Sure.
Do you know?
They provide disaster relief stuff, folks.
Well, what
Don't we
The-
have the little thing on that?
The care
Yeah.
kits are for disaster victims. Do you want me to get you the
I
5?
said hook us up, right? Would we finish it?
Yeah,
Hook
you
us up?
said hook it up, so
Yeah.
you'll need to do the websites.
Yeah.
Get ready and go.
Just remember, it's all going to a great organization, Heart to Heart International, and these care kits, they go to people that have been victims of natural disasters that might be earthquakes, tornadoes.
Or earthquakes. Which,
Earthquakes,
if you don't
you
get
know,
them with the care kit, that's
terrible.
what they're going to be
That's
stuck
what
with
they're
eating is
for. They
earthquakes.
ship them internationally. If go
That's
to
right.
lifeisyouownit.com, we'll have a link to Heart International. You can learn more about the organization and the specific items that we're collecting to put together our care kits.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for being a partner with Life As You Own It on this.
And we're going to go out there and put some care kits together in person ourselves.
Next
I'm
month.
going to take some kiddos with me. We're going to make some care kits.
That's right. Okay, let's do it. So, Craig, interest rates.
Let's talk about rates. Every week, folks, you can count on us, Life As You Own It, to bring you the national average on interest rates. So if you're a regular listener, you know we bring it to you. We tell you where they were last week, the week before, and where they may be headed. If you're a first-time listener, this is something most people want to tune into because you want to know, give me kind of a standard measurement of where rates are or have been so I know if I'm on the right track. Should I be locking my rate? Should I be holding off? So let's talk about national average on interest rates over the past week, folks. Again, the national average, it's always based upon a $200,000 loan amount, 20% or more equity, someone with excellent credit. If your credit's a little weak, you're not putting as much money down, or you have less equity in your home if you're refinancing, you name it, various scenarios obviously could affect the terms you get. And these are just guidelines, folks. A lot of times you can get as good of a rate as this or better, or maybe you get a little bit higher rate but you have no closing costs. We're seeing on average people pay about 1 point in fees. That's 1% of the loan amount. $200,000, that means $2,000 fee plus other closing costs. So the fees can be high when you refinance or purchase a home. We tell you every week, watch those fees, pay attention, go to lifeasyouown.com, read the break-even calculation so that you know how to calculate what loan makes the most sense comparing loan options. We always want you to compare a very low cost or truly zero cost loan to one with normal or what they would consider normal or standard fees. Compare those two quotes. Yeah, maybe the rate's a little higher on the no cost, but it may be the better deal for many, many years for the time period you'll have that loan. So here they are, folks, 30-year fixed over the past week, 4.29. That's versus 4.34 the prior week. So we've seen a slight, ever so slight improvement on 30-year fixed rate mortgages. 15-year, 3.24 versus 3.34. So again, that's a little bit more significant movement. That's probably going to affect the rate you get quoted, about 1/8% better. 5-year ARM, 3.25 versus 3.25. No movement at all in the adjustable rate mortgages. What is a 5-1 ARM? Just to remind you, 5 years it's fixed. After that, it can adjust. It can go up or down just one time per year. And there's caps on those things. Make sure if you're considering an ARM, the person you're dealing with has explained all the features and how it works. An ARM can be a great way to save some money on interest, but you have to have it as part of a planned out deal. It's got to be a mortgage plan. It can't just be because it gives you a lower payment. Might not be the best option for you. FHA 30-year fixed, 3.89 versus 4.06. So a nice little bit of a movement in FHA where you would see about 1/8% lower rate if you got quoted this past week versus the week before. Folks, I think rates are still staying fairly flat. There's still a lot of volatility in the market. We've seen the stock market reach record highs over the past week, but we've also seen some unusual mixed bag of news internationally. It's just anybody's guessing game here. No one has a crystal ball. If your transaction makes sense, if you're saving money on a refi and you've done all the math, you've paid attention to the fees and costs and really thought about it, get it done. If you're buying a home and you're getting contracted on that house, don't wait around and play the game to see if rates are going to get better for you. You might regret it a lot worse than what you save. Get locked in. That's my position over this past week. Okay, Mark.
All right, folks, when we come back, millennials, Generation Y. Why are you hampering the real estate recovery? We'll talk about it when we return. Life as you own it. Thought they'd find him swimming.
Like a goose. Do it.
All right, friends, we are back. Life as you own it. Don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. No.
I can't.
No.
You know what? If you watch the video, you'll see those heads are
We're just
shaking.
doing it. Night at the Roxbury, baby. Style.
I got my overbite out.
All right, back to
Was
the
that
action.
necessary?
Yes,
Let's
it
save
was.
the sound
It
effects
was
for
so.
the professionals. Okay,
That
this
was
is
so
Life as you
necessary.
own
That
it.
was professional.
We're a very serious show covering very serious subject matter, so pay close attention.
We didn't do a little. We didn't hit any should you stay or should you goes in the last segment in our first time.
That's
listening.
okay, it
I wonder
happens
what that's all
sometimes.
about. We'll see it. We'll see it happen. All right,
It does.
millennials. They're just not participating. They're not pulling us through.
Yeah, let's define a millennial. Okay, millennial or Generation Y. Those of you born from the early '80s, no specific year given, to the early 2000s. So
Or is
now,
that,
sorry,
is that
Rosa.
I think it's late
70s?
70s.
I thought they were like 79. It was right before 78,
Oh.
79.
I was 78, so maybe I'm not
Okay,
in that
well, I'm
category.
going to go with the early '80s. You guys go with
Okay.
whatever year you want. So,
That's also known as the entitlement generation. Just kidding for those of you out here, but not really.
That was
All right.
Okay. So,
I'm just
so
kidding.
we'll
It
see
is.
the
That's
younger
what they call
generation. Rosa, why are you making faces? You're not a millennial. Oh,
Okay.
you're trying to say it's the '70s. Late. Is that when were you born? 78. Okay. So sure. For the purposes of our show today, Gen
don't
Y
wanna
or
be.
the millennials
Okay,
will
good.
begin in the
Early
late
80s.
'70s.
Early 80s to
Oh,
2000s.
wait. Was I
Ah.
correct?
Mark?
Oh,
Oh,
interesting.
Mark, you're right one time. Oh, well.
All right, so folks, there are 4 reasons why young Americans are staying out of the housing market, and it might not be what you think. It's not that, hey, they've wised up and they've seen some of the mistakes that those in the early 2000s participated in, which is assuming that real estate is like the stock market, where it always goes up when you put money in, and you can always sell it at the top and make a bunch of money. Yeah, folks, as you know, that's not really like the stock market. Just like the stock market, the purchase, your exit strategy, the price that you sell out is really more important than the price that you purchase at. So, folks, those of you that have children, family members, etc., that fall in the generation, we're going to speak about some of the reasons maybe that they're sitting on the sideline, which means less first-time home buyers. All right, number one is that the employment rate for 18 to 29-year-olds was 9.1% in April, which rises to 15.5% if you include those who have given up looking for work. So I don't know if you guys know that, but the unemployment rate is based upon those actually trying to get a job. Move it off the charts if you're just sitting at home, not even attempting. And here's an interesting thing: forget that it's without a job, it's just about impossible to get a mortgage. It's also hard to get a mortgage, just period, because of the savings rate. That's a little more challenging. So it's more challenging to get a mortgage if you don't have savings, but it's even more difficult if you don't have obviously a job to start accumulating those savings. Craig,
Yes, Mark.
some other reasons?
I'll give you a bunch.
Okay.
Well, here's the biggest thing. The use of consumer debt in general is a problem, not because, well, it's not a problem because the existence of it, but this generation was raised in a sense that...
Don't talk down to my generation.
It's not, yeah, you wish. Mark, you're an exception. Anyway, raised, assuming that taking out student loans, using credit cards to purchase things, borrowing money for whatever it is that you want today is normal, and you'll just get it paid off later. Well, the higher debt ratios we see of this generation typically, it's just very common they have a higher debt to income ratio. So a lot of times they don't qualify because they carry
lower credit scores, which are the big thing that's crushing it.
And they carry, they're carrying more credit card balances, they're carrying more auto loan balances, stretching out those car loans. I don't know because I haven't researched it, but I bet the average length of a car loan for this generation is probably a year or 2 years longer than the generation before it. So you just see this, combined effect of lower credit scores because of that, and more debt, higher debt ratio makes it much harder to be a homeowner.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, unemployment was 9.1% for millennials. It's 6.3% for all other ages. One other little interesting statistic is 29% of adults younger than 35 live with their parents, according to a Gallup poll results released earlier this year. That's shocking to me.
Yeah.
29%. Okay.
I mean, right. Yeah,
now, I would make the case that the 29% of you that are living at home and working, you've got an opportunity to save money for your down payment.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know the dynamics. I don't know how those numbers break down of how many of the 29% are actually working. But I tell you, strategically, I have no problem with that. However, if it's you're living at home, you don't have a job, and you aren't actively looking, then shame on you, and shame on your parents.
And real quick, what does that sound, Mark? Before we do the should you stay or should you go scenario, folks, we're about to bring it on to you. I'll just say that it's a problem that continues to perpetuate itself because then you're renting and your rent goes up every year, and you're just having that much harder time getting ahead with what homeownership can often do, and that is hedge against inflation in year-over-year expenses and get you a little ahead in your net worth. So it's kind of tough.
We got a couple other reasons that the millennials aren't yet pulling their weight on the housing recovery. Whenever after the should you stay or should you go segment. All right, folks, you know the deal. You give us your scenario. We tell you if you should stay or should you go in that relationship, in that rental scenario, in that home purchase, or that refinance. We'll give you the scoop. Okay, so Craig, we have
Chet
in Lenexa, Kansas writes, "Hi guys, love the show. My question is about auctioning my home. I need to sell my home fast, and thankfully, I've got a lot of equity. Should I list it with a realtor and just price it aggressively, or should I sell it at auction? I could set my auction reserve low and maybe get it sold and closed on faster. Thoughts?"
Okay, stay as meaning don't do the auction thing. Go would be do the auction. So stay, not doing the auction.
Don't do the
realtor.
auction.
Here's why.
No auction, no.
It sounds like a good idea sometimes. I'm going to tell you why it isn't. It takes a little while to get your home sold by auction, longer than you think. You got to get the auction set up. They've got to send out notices, and it takes a while to get enough people aware of the auction so that you'll have an audience to buy the home. By the time you price a home fairly aggressively in today's market with a top-notch realtor, that home will sell. It usually will close within 30 days if somebody's got a good lender they're working with and they're ready to buy now. I would not think the auction's going to net any much faster result, but I bet you it would net less gain on sale of the home. So my suggestion, find that best realtor, that top-notch professional out there in your community, get that home listed, and put it on the market ASAP.
All right. Hey, you can go to auction.com as a resource, and I'll tell you, I agree with Craig. Unless it's a common phenomenon that houses are selling by auction in your community, some markets might be a little different, but mostly in the Midwest, it hasn't caught on yet. Until it does, don't try to set the trend, start the trend. But go with the safe bet. Find you're the best real estate professional. Okay, the other last two reasons why the millennials aren't yet helping with any gusto are student debt. Craig, you kind of touched on it, saying, hey, the indebtedness is higher. The average student loan in 2012, 1.3 million students who graduated from four-year colleges, or 71% of them had student loan debt, up from 1.1 million in 2008 and 900,000 in 2004. So you can see these numbers keep going up. Graduating seniors with student loans had average debt levels of $29,400 in 2012, up 25% from just 4 years ago in 2008 that was $23,000. That is a big increase in student debt. One of the reasons I'll say is the average increase in tuition is between 4 and 5%. So interesting that in a 4-year period it went up 25%. Right. So I think it's a combination of two. Because of the soft economy, people had to borrow more, and also we still had the tuition increases. So, and finally, delaying marriage and or family. The median age of the first marriage is about 27 for women and 29 for men, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. Guess what it was in 1950, Craig?
Early 20s had to be.
Yeah, 21 for women and 24 for men.
Yeah.
So the bottom line there is most people are going, you know what, I don't need to buy that first home, and we commend them for that. I'm single. I can live in a 700 square foot apartment. I don't need 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, etc., and that responsibility because I'm focused on my career. So many of the reasons that millennials are kind of standing on the sidelines. Some of them, I'd say the third one is possibly a prudent one, but the first 3 are things that poor economic conditions, lower credit scores because of those poor economic conditions, and increased student loan debt because of the economic conditions and the increase in cost of education.
And we've talked about this on the show before, and we'll do it again, but guys, make sure that your student loan, your education is a focused decision, and that you're consuming student loans and partaking in your education wisely.
All right, and when you got it, and when we come back, we're going to tell you how to get ready to buy your first home over the next 12 months. Life as you own it. Stay tuned.
There you go. Craig?
That is just weird stuff.
I feel good.
Excuse you.
All right, we're ready. Life as you own it. And we talked about millennials and why some of them may not be making the big step and why that is modestly impacting the real estate recovery. But we've got your answers now. We've got the path for you. If you're thinking of buying in the next 12 months and you've listened to it, you know what? I'm going to be a part of the solution, not the problem. I'm going to jump in and buy my first house. Well, first we're going to tell you, make sure you understand the weighty implications of this, what is likely your largest investment you'll make in your life. Do not jump in. We'd rather you sit on the sidelines until you've got the proper savings, a great job where you can know that you can afford this home as the long-term investment it is. Real estate is not a short investment, it's a long one. 5 to 10 years should be the minimum timeline that you believe you will own this property before you seriously consider making an investment. All right, Craig, we ready?
We're all ready.
So did you know that 38% is the number? That's how much cheaper on a national average buying is versus renting.
I would say it's got to be pretty accurate. I
All right.
usually tell people 30-40% you'll save. So.
Okay, so you're 12 months out, and as we covered this about a month ago, did a pretty heavy series on first-time home buyers, or a segment on it. You're 12 months out. Make sure the time is right. So do the rent versus own calculator. Identify if in your market it does make sense, if you can find the shelter, the roof over your head that you can afford, and it's a better deal to own versus rent. Or maybe it's to rent versus own, but you got to punch in the numbers. Go to Trulia.com. There's some great calculators there. We've got some on the website also that really you want to get in and punch all the numbers in. It's not just your mortgage payment, folks. It is just your rent payment plus your utilities, but your mortgage payment is just one of, and I'd say it's probably 65% of the cost of home ownership. Craig, that makes sense?
Makes complete sense, Mark.
All right, get your act in gear, which means make sure your credit. Run your credit report. You can get a free copy, or you can go to a mortgage lender. They'll run credit for you. Identify what you've got to get cleaned up, where you need your score to be, and I'll tell you, you want your score to be as high as possible. 760 is your goal. 720 is kind of where you're going to be in a sweet spot of getting the standard deal. Anything below that, you're going to pay a higher interest rate. Also, start to do some preliminary research on what you like, what you're looking for, in the house, what are the neighborhoods you like, etc. All right, Craig, anything else when they're 12
What I'd
months
add
out?
to 12 months out, yes, you need to get a plan to build reserves. If
Yes.
you're going to be
Amen.
buying a home, you're a year out. There's no reason why you can't sit down, set a budget, and figure out how much you can be putting aside each month now. If you develop this habit now, 12 months from now, when you take on the obligation of home ownership, you'll continue this pattern, and maybe hopefully even be able to do more if you're saving money by buying versus renting currently, and you'll be able to add to those reserves. Reserves are the key, folks. So make sure you've got a plan saying, hey, I can save $200 a month, $300 a month, $400. You're going to have to save your down payment money up anyway.
Yes.
You're going to need 3.5% for an FHA loan, 5% or more for a conventional loan. So you got to have that. We want you to have reserves as well, at least 6 months worth of your bills in reserve where that money can't move backwards, potentially invested in something safe, but it can't move backwards. So work on that way out.
He's right. Have a budget. If you don't have a budget will have you. Don't budge on buying a house
And I
until
say
you
it
have a
all the
budget.
time. I
You
like
got it.
big budgets and I cannot lie.
He doesn't. He's not lying. He does. He likes those big budgets. All right. Should you stay or should you go, folks? Don't worry. We're going to get back to the getting you ready to buy your first home, but we stop and take care of business when you hear the music play. All right. Andrea in Phoenix, Arizona asked the following question. I have a VA loan with a rate of 4.25% on a 30-year loan. I've had my loan for 2.5 years. I received an offer to refinance at 3.875, but it had about $7,500 in fees. I would love a rate in the threes, but does this offer make sense?
Stay. And no, it does not make sense. They're talking about reducing your rate by 0.3%, and you're going to pay $7,500 up front to do it. It's going to take years to break even on that deal. Don't do it. You need to have somebody analyze the transaction. Honestly, at 4.25%, you're not in bad shape on a VA loan. You can't really shave a whole lot off of that rate right now and do it without costs or a bunch of fees. That's why there's so many fees. They're charging you points. Stick with what you've got for right now, but do find a certified mortgage planner to make sure that you have a bona fide mortgage plan. They look at your overall financial picture. They might have some other ideas for you.
Hey, and I'll make sure you understand that when you see the advertising, there are no special government tricks, tips, etc., that can save you thousands of dollars that you want to sign on without reading the fine print. So really, those special government tips and tricks are really just straightforward refinances. However, the people that use that misleading marketing terminology don't usually give a straightforward refinance.
Right.
They give one where they show you 3 7/8 and they say, here's how much money you're going to save, but you're not really saving that money because you just packed a bunch of fees into the loan. So just make sure you read the fine print, folks. And we recommend you reach out to us with your scenario so we can approve it or reject it. Stay or go, we'll give you the truth. All right, Craig, so
6 months out.
6 months out, what are some of the things
What
that you
happens when
recommend?
you're 6 months out? All right, well, it's time to be looking to the lender. You want to start, well, you want to get your credit score figured out, like I said earlier, but then you want to look at ways to boost your credit score. So, Mark, what's the average credit score nationwide?
I think it's about 755.
There you go. You don't have a cheat sheet or anything. 755, folks. That's actually an
That's for
excellent credit
approved.
score.
That's for approved mortgage
Right.
applicants. That's
That's
for
true.
it's higher than
That's
that. The
true.
national average is higher than that.
Wow.
That's for people that are approved for mortgage.
So, folks, usually 740 or higher, you're in some pretty solid ground. 760 or above, you're pretty much solid gold. So people, on average, are having a higher credit score that are getting approved mortgages. But you want to make sure that you look that good. You want to look good on paper. So
Yep.
start working on boosting your credit scores. Look over that credit report, see if there's anything to be cleaned up. Make sure you're paying your bills on time. You got to be extra diligent about that and not obtaining a bunch of inquiries on your credit while you're in this process.
Yeah, you're working now at 6 months. You're working with a mortgage lender. You've already started, or a mortgage planner is what we recommend. You started identifying, kind of what you liked months ago. You started working on your credit, got your budget in order. Now, go and start the pre-approval process. When we come back, we're gonna give you a little more information at the 6 months out and bring you on down to 3 months, ready to make that offer almost. Life as you own it. Stay tuned. So we running this through the breaks now?
Mhm.
Hi, Craig. You look very
Mark,
nice
hi.
today.
You know, Mark,
Did you have a nice afternoon?
I did. Kidding.
Are you flexing? You're gonna have to flex a little harder.
I was
I did.
contemplating.
Are you thinking, man?
Mm-hmm. Thinking.
You got to do that
I'll
this
send him his
direction
email
so they
back
can
during
see.
break.
You got to do it this direction so they can see. Your microphone blocked your thinking man.
Did it really? Okay. Thinking microphone. All right. Ready to do it? What segment?
This is the fourth segment. This is also a 7-minute.
We're just moving right along.
We are.
There
Okay.
we go.
7 and 4.
Because last week was rough.
Standing by. We're rolling. We're shaping.
When I was going back and editing that video, I was like, seriously? We must have stopped 27 times.
That was.
We
yeah,
did not.
Get dookie.
It felt like it.
Doing this.
Right. I
Hey,
mean,
we didn't stop
what a-
27
We're
times.
professionals. We don't do
Here we
that.
go.
We're one take wonders,
there you go.
which is evidenced by the quality of our show.
Alrighty, folks, we are back to Life as You Own It, getting you ready to buy that first home. We talked about what to do at 12 months out. We're in the middle of 6 months out. We've talked about getting those credit scores up. Don't open any new accounts you don't absolutely have to do. Don't close any accounts that you don't necessarily need to close. Those things can affect your scores. Mark, what else?
All right, you also need to start drilling down on that. You've gotten pre-approved now by your mortgage lender, and you've looked at the numbers. Make sure you understand not just the PITI payment that your standard mortgage lender is going to give you. PITI is what, Craig?
Principal, interest, taxes, insurance.
They
Meat, bread,
probably
and sauce.
you got it. They probably, unfortunately, they're probably not going to cover all the other expenses. If they're a certified mortgage planner, they are. If they're not, they're probably not going to talk to you about the other expenses associated with home ownership. Everything from landscaping to purchasing the washer and dryer, the lawnmower, the utilities that are now going to be more than you would have paid to rent the apartment. All of those things, the upkeep, the maintenance, all of that. So you got to count on that. That go to Trulia or any of the other the buy home calculators. The good ones will have all that information in there. So really start forecast your future bills. What are they going to be in the new house? Make sure you've got sufficient savings, starting to shore it up for the down payment and then the purchase of these things. Now you're getting closer to 3 months out, Craig, from when you want to buy. So now you're contacting a realtor.
That's
What
right.
else you doing? Or you're contacting maybe several realtors because we recommend you interview more than a handful. Or more than one, I should say. Maybe a handful would be sufficient. That's 2 or 3.
You got to find a personality match, number one, but you've got to check to make sure that the credentials are there. I'm not saying that a less experienced realtor isn't the right fit for you, but make sure you're dealing with someone who really understands the market you're in, understands your needs. You've mapped out what you want. You've articulated that to this particular realtor. Visit with each realtor that you are going to interview. Share your wants and needs. If they listen well, here's a little tip for you. You'll be able to tell the best ones from some of the less desirable ones by how well they listen and can convey back to you their understanding of what your particular home interest and needs are. What I see happen a lot is you'll be very specific in what you're looking for in a home, and then they'll shotgun you over 25 houses they want you to weed through to pick out which ones you want to go look at, and they don't have any of the features or very few that you said you're looking for. Make sure you're working with someone who's detailed and efficient at getting this done. That's one big one.
It's a good one. Another is now you're going to start. You've got your down payment. You're pretty close on it. You're either 3.5%, 5%, or maybe you've got more. So you've identified the financing route you're going to go. You're going to do an FHA loan. You're going to do a conforming loan with 5% down and or 10% down and lender paid MI. So you've picked the option. You've kind of lined that up, and now you need to go ahead and start seriously looking at making offers on a house. You're getting ready to now consummate the transaction. So you're seriously looking now. You're ready to make an offer. You're fully pre-approved. It's subject to you not changing your job, you not messing up your credit, and now you're in the money looking for your first house. Make sure you stay true to that list you put out. What are your needs? What are your wants? What is your budget? And what is your mortgage payment? Make sure your budget and your mortgage payment are all one thing. It's not I qualify up to X for my mortgage payment. No, it's I qualify up to X in my budget. Understand the difference between those two. You can qualify for a lot more mortgage than you can afford, believe it or not.
That's right.
All right, so now you're ready to become a homeowner, a home miner. You're not a miner because you wouldn't be a millennial because we know those are all at least 18.
It's a lot of
right?
M's.
Yes. All right, folks. Next, grammar. Craig, what do you think of You remember me talking about the why
Yeah,
for do you
I-
need good some grammar?
Yeah, I ain't
All
got
right.
no. I don't know nothing
Interestingly
about
enough,
no grammar
folks,
book.
I've got some statistical data that shows on listings. This was in Wall Street Journal a couple weeks ago. On Redfin and Grammarly, identified spelling errors and other grammatical red flags and descriptions of homes listed at 1 million and above in 52 metro areas in 2013. And guess what?
What?
Those that had no errors or red flags, 10.6% of those sold over list price.
Wow.
Those with numerous errors and red flags, guess how many of those sold for over list price? Less than 1%. Bottom line is, folks, make sure you're working with a real estate professional, regardless of the listing of your house or listing price of your house. Make sure that if they're putting your best foot forward, it's actually your best foot forward. No run-on sentence, no misspelled words, any of those things. If it's a high-end house, I can tell you the professionalism associated with proper grammar probably impacts some people to seriously look at your house.
Yeah.
I know I've possibly passed over some if I saw a bunch of grammatical errors. I'm like,
It's just the way it works on stuff you're selling. I used to years ago would mess with some cars or motorcycles and things and fix them up and sell them on eBay and stuff. And I put together amazing ads on eBay. I mean, I'm describing the car very well. It's very well spoken. I'm transferring the enthusiasm for this car, this motorcycle, and man, I did well with that. But you read some of these other ones, and it's just so blah, and there's just nothing to get excited about. The same thing with your house. This is a big, big purchase. People want to have something to, feel like it's right. And when it's all jagged up,
especially if it's $1 million house.
Yeah.
All right. Did you know that nearly half of all home sales are all cash deals, Craig?
you know why I knew that? Because you said it at the opening of the show. But before that, I wasn't clear on that.
All right. All cash deals hit a record 43% of home sales during the first 3 months of 2014, according to Realty Track. That is up 19% from a year earlier, and the highest level reported since they began tracking in 2011. The jump is due to two main factors. One is stricter lending standards that make it difficult to get a mortgage, and two is intense buyer competition. In many markets, we're seeing cash buyers, they want their offer to be the most seriously considered one. And yes, believe it or not, folks, if you're a cash buyer and you're offering the same amount for the home, maybe even less, people are going to take you more seriously, so you've got an opportunity to get the home. Now, I'm going to say that another big part of that is going to be the number of institutional investors. That's a good chunk of it that are putting big money into purchasing homes and turning them into rental properties. That is going to be a lot of the cash that's coming into that. I don't have that data specifically, but it's not that 43% of your friends and neighbors are paying cash because they got a rich uncle. Life as you own it. When we're back, we'll wrap this puppy up.
Yeah, got some tips for you on it. I wanted to point out real
Need
quick,
like
for those
laser
of you who
beams.
think you're going to pay cash and then you're going to mortgage your property, that you can lose your interest deduction if you don't do so within, is it 90 days?
90, unless it's changed. Yeah.
So, in that,
I think it's great.
your best bet is to have a plan in place already for a loan if you absolutely have to pay.
So
cash.
those of you listening during the breaks, listening to the whole
That's what
show,
we'll talk about.
you get these inside nuggets.
Oh,
Maybe
no.
some extra nuggets you don't
I
want.
got some big nuggets for you. Mark's got some smaller nuggets.
Yeah.
You know, we're here to share the nuggets, and that's what we do.
We're all about the nuggets. Golden nuggets.
Golden nuggets. There's a lot of gold in there.
There's a lot of gold in them nuggets.
Pure gold.
Pure and gold.
You guys.
Do you want the remote? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, we had
Well, I
to
thought you were
You guys
trying
ever
to
watch-
made a
Control problem.
nuclear
We have to have
bomb
a
over there
remote.
earlier.
Well, no, because when we stopped, I'm
It
like,
was.
Cut the red
timer
one. Cut the
keeps
red
going.
one. Oh, jeez.
and I have to reset it, otherwise the brakes will be too long.
This is the
Yeah,
last
did you,
segment.
did they have a?
Yeah.
How long was the training to understand how to work the digital clock?
It was quite intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is
I'm
kinda-
qualified to be a Navy SEAL now,
I bet you are.
Nice.
or maybe it's
Not
a
a-
Navy SQUEAL.
Not special forces, but maybe a Navy SEAL,
Special.
because we know they squeal. Oh yeah, you're special forces, all right. We're special forces.
You know, I can make you
special
sound.
forces.
I can make you sound horrible on these.
Yeah.
I can make you sound worse.
You
Oh,
mean
listen to that. He has the
horrible?
power.
Horrible. You know the most misspelled city in the country?
San Diego.
No.
Boston.
Albuquerque.
Pittsburgh. People
Really?
leave the H off the end.
Leave the H off the end?
Albuquerque.
Do you know
I
there was
thought
an
that
H?
they put
Did you know there was an H at the
I
end of
thought
Pittsburgh?
I thought
'Cause
they
it's
put
silent.
3 T's in there. Pittsburgh.
The third T is silent. All right, here we
It's
go.
not Albuquerque.
It's Albuquerque.
I would do that's a good one. I think
He said
Albuquerque.
Albuquerque.
Albuquerque. That's
That's
wow,
funny.
That should be a
Wichita.
great contest there. Here we go. We're
Pittsburgh,
rolling.
Really?
Time to get serious.
Time to get serious. Is that what they do?
It's Albuquerque.
That is kind of, because it looks like Albuquerque.
All right, friends, we are back. Final segment of Life as You Own It. You hung in there this long, you better hang in for the rest of it because we've got some good stuff for you as we close it out. And of course, you know now, if you're a first-time listener, you better be back here again with us next week so that you don't miss out on the fun stuff. We're going to give you that 877 number once again. And why? Because you need to call it. If you've got a question, if you want to get on the should you stay or should you go scenarios, if you need advice so that you don't get hammered on some goofy deal you have no business doing, this is the number to call. 877-300-1536. You can say, hey, I want to talk to Craig Miller. I want to run some stuff by him. I'm buying a house. I'm refinancing a house. I'm doing something else that I should or shouldn't be doing, and I want to know. I'll tell you.
I'm doing something else I should
I'll
or
talk
shouldn't
to
be
you about
doing.
anything, just so you know. I'm in 24 hours, 7 days a week, and you can give me some goofy stuff, and I'll just talk to you about it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, let's not go too far, though. I mean, I don't.
Let's
you know,
keep it clean.
I won't opine on
Keep
something.
it classy.
Keep it classy, folks.
All
Okay,
right,
so cash.
Cash.
We got to touch on some of this stuff.
Yeah,
Let's
touch on
touch
some cash. Give me your
Right.
wallet and I'll touch on some cash.
Yeah, so the thing about it is this. Paying cash for a home might be a sensible strategy, but rarely is it the very best strategy. Oftentimes you're passing on a major arbitrage opportunity there where you could invest your money elsewhere, get a bigger rate of return than what the tax effective rate would be, tax efficient effective rate on that mortgage would be. We want you to talk to a financial planner, talk to an advisor who understands this, talk to a certified mortgage planner who understands this before you make the final decision. Now, if you do find yourself in a situation, you're in a bidding war, you've got the wherewithal to pay cash, you're at an auction that requires cash or anything of the sort, and you're buying that home for cash, but you want a mortgage on it, and you'd rather have a loan and put your money back in the bank or invest it, guess what you've got, folks? You've got a narrow window of time to make that happen, or you lose the tax deduction on that acquisition indebtedness that is part of the IRS code. If you want to lose your mortgage interest deduction, here's how you lose it. Pay cash for a home, and don't take out a mortgage until after 90 days of acquiring a home. So, how do you collect that tax deduction or make sure you get to partake? If you do pay cash, make sure within 90 days of closing that you close on a loan that allows you to pull cash out of that home and put it back wherever it came from so that you can deduct that mortgage as acquisition indebtedness. And you got that 3-month window there, folks. Pay attention.
Other than that, you'd be limited to the cash withdrawal of $100,000.
That's right.
So it may not, if it's a smaller investment, may not, but that's awesome thing to point out there, Craig, because a lot of people are missing the boat on that. Or what they're actually doing is they're going ahead and they're deducting that, and what they don't know is that technically it wasn't deductible.
Yeah.
All right.
Watch it.
That's right. Watch it, folks. Okay, we're going to revisit a little bit of a story that we covered maybe 3-4 weeks ago. And it was an opportunity to purchase real estate property, purchase investment property in Detroit, or purchase maybe your primary residence. And we just picked Detroit because they threw out $1,000. So, folks, you know there are foreclosures and auction opportunities all over the nation. RealtyTrack.com is one we recommend you check out to find the foreclosure activity in your market. Great information there. And then auction.com you can go to also, but different source. But RealtyTrack.com, if you want to be a real estate investor, you can get this info too. But in Detroit, they started an auction. $1,000 was the opening bid, and we thought that sounds good. Buy a bunch of properties for $1,000 each.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't quite work out that way. The first one sold for just over $34,000. Bid started at $1,000. The winning bid hit $34,000. It's a 3-bedroom, 1,400 square foot home that needs a new furnace and water heater. Otherwise, it's in good condition. Well, I'll tell you, that's probably a pretty good deal.
Looks like an all brick home in the picture.
It does, all brick.
Pretty cute little
It's a
place.
brick house. So folks, we just wanted to come back on this story and say there are opportunities for real estate investors that have a strategic plan. Doesn't mean you have to go to Detroit, go any other place. There might be right in your own backyard. You may have the opportunity, if you've got some wherewithal, financial wherewithal, and some carpentry skills, now still can be a good time, but it is a business, and it is a more serious business than what we consider buying your primary residence, which we encourage you to look at just like a business. I use a lot of business words there, didn't I? Biznacky. All right, folks. Well, it's been another installment of Life as You Own It. We appreciate you joining us. We hope you come back. Remember, check us out where, Craig? Where can they check us out?
Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, and all the other stations in your area where you're picking us up.
All right. And remember to
Stay classy.